when I arrived in Vietnam, I was one of the first to want to get out of the plane. We had been in the plane for 17 hours, my feet were swollen, and I just wanted to get out in the fresh air. And I remembered they opened the door and I was ready to move out, and there was this heat, like a fan of heat, blowing towards me, and the smell, I couldn't even describe how awful the smell was. And I went back into the plane. I didn't want to go out there. And when I saw the Vietnamese, I had never been in a situation where there were such a high population of other Asian people. And I was fascinated, just fascinated, looking at all these Asian people around me, and to be in the majority rather than the minority. So I was fascinated by what I saw. But at the same time, there was a huge crowd yelling and screaming, "Short, short, you suckers, short, short." And it was the guys ready to go on my plane, and they were making fun of me. Not me as an individual, but the whole group of us that came off the plane, and they were saying, "We're going home, that's our freedom bird you just got off." And I was so angry that they would do that to me. And that was my introduction to Vietnam. I went into nursing because at the time, the only choices I had as a young woman was teacher, nurse, or secretary. I had never thought beyond that of trying to be the first woman to do this or whatever. And I was the kind of person that really liked to help other people, so I thought that nursing would be the more appropriate career for me.
Did you take up nursing with a view of joining the armed forces?
I took up nursing with the view of nursing at stateside as a regular civilian. Vietnam was not an issue for me in school, and in nursing school, there were girls that were dating college boys and bringing information back about protesting on the campus and songs of peace and things like that. But I wasn't relating to that until a nurse recruiter came during my junior year of nursing school and introduced us to the military. And because I had no plans of what I was going to do when I graduated, I thought this would be an adventurous situation for me. And when I was about 12, I remember seeing John F. Kennedy at his inaugural address saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." And I just thought that was that was something that I could do. And I felt guilty as a teenager watching the boys trying to make decisions on what to do, whether to wait to be drafted, whether to join the military, whether to run away to Canada. I just felt as a girl I didn't have to make those choices, and I felt that it was unfair at the time that boys had to deal with these issues and girls didn't. I felt that the boys were victims that were being drafted and forced to go to a war situation against their will. And I felt more compassion towards them and thought, well, if I joined the military, at least I would be one of those compassionate people that would be there for them when they came back from Vietnam. But I did not offer to go to Vietnam. I did not volunteer. I was given orders and the thought of getting out of it, but the more information I was getting back from the soldiers of how much they needed nurses in Vietnam, the more I was convinced that I should just go without a fight, and because I was needed there, that it was okay.
Increased air action over North Vietnam as U.S. Navy and Air Force jets pound the port of COMM 2230U.
My father didn't want me to be a nurse because he had that old-fashioned idea that nurses were prostitutes. So when I decided I was going to join the Army, he got very upset because, of course, the only women that joined the military are prostitutes and lesbians. And I told him it was all myths, that it wasn't true, that I was going in as a nurse, I would be an officer, did everything the recruiter told me, I dumped on him. And he had been in the Air Force in World War II, so he knew what the service was about. And I said, if you don't sign the papers now, I'm just going to go in next year, and I'm going to resent this, that you made me wait, because I really want to go. I really want to do this. So we had a few arguments back and forth about it, and I finally convinced him that, that this is something I really wanted to do. and so he finally signed. He wasn't happy when I left. That was the first time I ever saw my father cry, was when I left. I know he was very worried about me, very concerned about me, and he cried when he saw me when I came back. And I had changed. I had not been the person I had left. The military didn't show me any films or didn't give me any information of the kind of wounds I would be seeing in Vietnam. But I remember when I first started working in triage, where I had to do a lot of thinking ahead, thinking what I was doing, and doing 10,000 things at one time. I remember saying to myself, now I know why my teachers were so hard on me, because nursing school prepared me quite a bit. In nursing school, they gave us the self-confidence and the skills to work in any situation. And I felt I was prepared in that way, that I did have the skills, I did have the self-confidence, and I was taught to think beyond of where we were going, to think almost like a doctor, to kind of make a diagnosis in my head of what was going on so I could be prepared before the doctor asked me for certain tools or to hang an IV bottle up or whatever. So I felt I was prepared in that way, but the military didn't prepare me for what I was going to see. So when I first saw some of the type of injuries that were coming into triage, I was not able to move. I wasn't even able to think. All I kept on thinking was, I want to get out of here. I arrived in Cu Chi in October 1969, and Cu Chi, the hospital was in the middle of the compound. We had a hospital complex made up of different Quonset huts. Each Quonset hut was a different unit. Like one Quonset hut was the lab, one Quonset hut was the triage, one Quonset hut was ICU. We also had a huge helipad outside triage so helicopters could land. And that was in the middle of a huge compound. And it was the headquarters of the 25th Infantry Division, which had thousands of people there. A lot of support units, like the engineers and the motor pool, and it had everything a small town would need, if not more than that. And we were 17 miles from the Cambodian border, near a mountain called Nui Baden, Black Virgin Mountain, in which the United States held the top, the bottom, and the North Vietnamese had the middle. So there was a lot of major battles on the mountain on any given day. And some days we had mass cows. That's the kind of day where we had like 5 wounded coming in every 5 minutes. We had a radio group in the back that would announce to us what was coming in so we would be able to be prepared. Most of the times we weren't. A lot of times the choppers would be coming in and they didn't even have the time to tell us what they had. So it was always a surprise. Every time a chopper landed on the heliport, everybody ran out there to find out what it was so they could go back and tell the nurses, so we were prepared. Sometimes one time they had a Chinook. They had 30 injured coming into triage all at one time. Chinook is this giant helicopter. So we never knew what to expect. That was kind of the excitement of working in triage. And we would get civilians coming in the back door, because we had the front door where we'd get our wounded, but there was a back door which was facing the road that went through the compound, and we would get lambretta accidents or motorcycle accidents. Lambrettas were these tiny vehicles that the Vietnamese used. It was kind of like a small taxi cab, and we would get grandmas and, you know, just a family going out for the day.